of the game, be able to come back and rebound off that. If we get in those situations, we should know how to handle it. Last year we couldn't because we were so young, and we're still young, but at least they've been in those games. Like, Georgia Tech last year, we were 7-3. Probably had a chance that if we could have won it, have an opportunity to win the conference, but just too much. The youth was there, just couldn't overcome that because it was too much exciting for them. It was a national televised game, it was a big game, and it just overwhelmed them. So, hopefully this year we coming back, it wouldn't be that much to it.
What kind of sadist made up your schedule this year?
I don't know the guy who did it, but it's just part of it. It's an NFL schedule. That's what you have to see it from that way. That each week, the first 4 games, that you have to treat it as NFL. That you don't have an opponent that you think you can beat. You have to go out and just change the tempo of practice. You have to change the way the guys prepare. And by me being in the NFL, I think it'll help us out a lot. And also with Coach Whipple being in the NFL, it's helped out a lot.
Coach, is that schedule the product of how good the ACC has become from top to bottom?
I think it is. It's always with the ACC, since I've been in the conference, it's always been the last 2 weeks going to decide on which division winner it's going to be. And I think that's one thing you have to look at. It's not an outright winner by the 6th, 7th game of the season, always their last 2 games. So, and that's the one thing about the ACC conference. It's fun to be a part of because you don't know until the last part of the season.
If you're not a head coach, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Coach, about the Florida State game, they've moved it back to the opening night, Labor Day. I know the money and exposure is unbeatable for a game like that, but is that a game you'd rather wait to play till later in the season?
No, it's good for the conference. That's the one thing you got to look at. You got to play Florida State sometime. If they don't play Florida State the first game of the season, it would always be on October 7th or 12th. It's always been traditional with Miami and Florida State. And we have played on Labor Day weekend, which has probably one of the highest ranked games on television was that game. So it's good for the conference. Good for both schools. Only game on TV that night, so it's good.
I know you touched on it a little bit, but do you ever remember being a part of a team with such a brutal first 4 games?
Not as brutal. When I was a player, we opened up with Florida State, Michigan, and somebody else. And then one year we opened up with Auburn, Florida, Michigan, and it was some of another team. So I've been a part of that, but not the way it is now. But it's part of it. What can you do about it?
And Commissioner Swafford touched on yesterday at his forum that the ACC, they might be the best top to bottom, but they're lacking those couple national contenders every year that might weaken the image from the rest of the nation. How important is it for teams like Miami and Florida State to get back for the conference standpoint?
I think for everybody in the conference. It was a start last year when we had 10 teams that made bowl games. That was the only conference that did that, so that's a start, and that's what you got to look at. It's okay, they've gotten 10 teams compared to everybody else. It was a record. So now, are we starting to make that turn? Yes, I think we're starting to make that turn, and that's how you got to look at it.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the progress that Harris made this spring over his first year?
Tremendous progress. He's a totally different person, totally different quarterback. First part of the spring, he'll be in a shotgun. He's supposed to be at 5, he'll be at 7. Back from high school, or he'll be underneath the center and go back to his high school way. So, but now, you look at him. He's taking control of the offense, taking control of the players on offense. And he's demanding a lot out of himself and also the players around him. He's around all the players on the team, not just offensively, but as a defense also. So he brings a lot to the table, and he becomes a leader of the team.
You've been a defensive coordinator and a head coach at the same time. How difficult a task is that to try to do both a coordinator's role and a head coach's role?
I've never done it.
You didn't? I thought you did.
Oh, wrong guy.
Sorry.
I've never done it.
My apologies.
No.
So how much tougher?
How much tougher would it be? I thought you did.
Yeah,
first.
I've heard some guys that I've talked to. Pete Carroll's done it. It's tough, and he's been back and forth of doing it and not doing it. Who else has done it? Guy in Notre Dame.
Weiss.
Charlie's done it. You see Charlie going back and forth. It's very difficult because Paul's been doing it for a long time. That's the guy you need to talk to. Paul's been doing it for a long time. And I think it's hard because you got to be able to manage a game both offensively and defensively. As far as are you going to take a timeout? Are you going to go for it on 4th down? It's 4th and 3. Are you going to send on defense? Are you going to go your punt safe team? Or are you going to do a return team? So it's a lot of things that you have to manage, and things like that are difficult. But talk to Paul about it. He's
gonna
prime
say, you
example.
don't
Everybody in this room, he's probably the one who can
Al's
tell you.
actually taking that on this year.
Al's doing it this year?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I know Ralph did it a couple years.
Yeah, Ralph did.
Just about lost his mind.
He lost his mind. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
So are you planning to do that in the future?
No,
All right.
I like my insanity.
Just got it on the record.
Yeah, I like my insanity. I don't need no problems.
How's the new offense looking?
Good. Good. It's what we wanted, what we're doing. Players excited about it. We're using the personnel around us. So we're able to use all the personnel around us. The guys are maturing and understanding what we're trying to get done offensively. It's great to see that.
Are there any games that you played last year that you thought, well, I'm looking forward to playing this team next year?
All of them, really. I mean, that's one thing about being in a conference now. You get to play everybody.
Yeah.
And every year you have to look forward to playing Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, teams like that. It's just the rotation of the other teams you don't have as much. But it's been over last year, losing some tough games was tough. But now you got to rebound back and move forward and try to build on it.
What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned over the last 3 years? Because you were sitting here as a new coach 3 years ago, and here you are 3 years later.
You always change. The way you practice. A lot of things in practice you change because the team get more of what you want to be. Your culture change on how your mentality is. So things like that you change in practice. Practice scheduling you change a little bit because guys understand what you're trying to get done in practice. Those are things that you change as a coach. As far as recruiting, what you're going to recruiting, that doesn't change. How do you handle certain things? That really doesn't change. The players change because the players don't change. It's just they understand what you're trying to get done, and then they just follow along with it, which it makes it a lot easier.
So you're getting more buy-in now than you did 3 years ago.
I think if by recruiting the players at Miami that we've changed the culture, there's nothing have changed. It's just they just used to me. They came in as a freshman. Okay, that's how Coach Shannon is, so they just kept doing it the same way. It's just a culture change, and that's that through recruiting. I mean, in 2 years, second year we signed 29 players, and then over 2 years we had 54 new guys at Miami in 2 years. That's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So he's only 85, so we changed probably over 2/3 of the team. So that's why slowly to change and get to where we needed to be.
So it's important to get your own group of players in to buy into what you're doing.
Yeah, you have to change the culture no matter what you do. I think that's the one thing that if you're able to change the culture, then you'll be successful and guys understanding what you want, and it becomes easy. You don't have to worry about it as a head coach. You can sit back and players doing all the right things, and which are knock on wood, but we've been pretty good the last 3 years of guys doing all the right things off the field, and that's come to the tribute of the coaches recruiting the right type of players, and also the players understanding what we want, but also the players know what's going on more than the coaches, and they're basically managing other players, making sure who's doing right, who's not, and it takes it easy for you as a coach now when you have that kind of stability with the older guys, with the seniors. Those seniors have been here for 3 years and they understand, so that's been great.